All
All
right,
right, well,
you'll
let's
be
go ahead
with
and
us.
get
You'll be safe.
let's go ahead and get rolling. I don't know, is
All right,
Pete
let's
coming
get
on
at
today? I
it.
don't know if Pete's coming on at all, but anyways, we'll get rolling. So today we're talking about how to present a CMA to your sellers, and obviously that's a huge point. And I know there's only six of us on here right now. We're all going to have different ways of doing that. And all I can tell you, people that are on our calls every week, is just you're going to resonate with somebody. Usually not a short old bald guy like me, but a cute bald guy like Matt maybe. But whoever you resonate with best, that's what you want to mirror, right? We're all different styles. That's the beauty of this call, by the way, is every one of us does things completely different, but yet we're all extremely successful, which means you don't have to follow one path. There's lots of paths to follow to be successful. And I can't stress that enough. It's just, have fun and whatever resonates with you the best, do it. But here's the thing: to steal a little famous sneaker, just do it. Right? You got to just do it. I talk to realtors every single day. I coach a lot of people and some people on this call. And the one thing I can tell you is almost everybody that I coach never does what they say they're going to do. And if you're not doing what you say you're going to do, you're going to have the exact same result. My favorite line, I'm using it all the time right now, is if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so whatever you're doing, you still have, a long time left in this year to make this an amazing year, but you still got to do the work. Unless, Lurchy can be bribed. He might do the work for you. But anyways, let's go ahead and start with Russ, since he's up in the corner. It's his birthday boy, in case he doesn't want to stay in the whole time. Happy birthday, Russ. Welcome aboard.
Oh, thanks, guys. So when it comes to presenting the CMAs to sellers, this is like perfect for me. I got a call last night at 5 o'clock for a guy around the corner who just did a new construction home in my neighborhood, and so that's exactly what we were talking last night. So it kind of ties in perfect for me. Uh, I think the best thing about presenting CMAs to the seller is that you get to control the data. For me, being able to direct the narrative and not allow your seller to get off tangent, because like we talked about last week, they can still have these pie in the sky ideas of what their home is worth. They're looking at Zestimance, which Zillow will tell you that's not even a word. And so they're developing their own ideas before they even talk to you. So when we're bringing data in, it's not to be a killjoy maybe in this market, but it's just to present proper expectations. So if you can lead with that and let them know that, hey, I understand that you have goals. I always like to ask the seller what their goal is before I present data, so I know if I'm delivering good news or bad news. Um, but when we do get to deliver the news, it's always something that I know what your house looks like. We've walked it. Um, I've looked at the pictures or I've toured the other homes in the neighborhood that are for sale and that have sold, just because we should all be market experts. That should be something we do on a daily or weekly basis, is know our inventory anyways. So that way, when we get to go talk about our favorite thing to do is to sell somebody else's home for them with excellent service and at peak value, we're delivering something that's sellable. We're not in the business of listing homes just to list homes and waste money and time. We're in the business of selling homes. So we want to show them data that is going to get the job done efficiently, effectively, and give strategies for that. So depending on the product, if you're looking at a high end turnkey done property, we want to list at market value. We don't need to set an atmosphere of hey, this is a bidding war. This is something that's going to have multiple offers on it. No, we're going to get a special buyer, and they're going to come in. They're going to give us your price, and we're going to move from there. So what we want to do is only show them properties that are done. We don't need to show them properties that had 20 offers on them because you had all the investors in town bidding on it. So on the flip side, I'm going to a property that's dilapidated, been broken into 3 times, listed, zoned residential commercial. I'm going to be bringing them all of those comps that had those 20 offers so we can develop that atmosphere of sell now. The seller wants to move it. She's distressed. Her brother and mother just passed away. So she's like done with this property, not in the area, wants to roll it. So what are we going to do? We're going to look at the properties that listed low to get 50 to 100K more than what the list price was. So we get to control the narrative. And based on what the property looks like, that's exactly the information we want to show them. So just know your market, know what's on the market, know what's sold, be an expert in your area. That's what we should be doing We should be walking into those open houses. We should be doing the broker caravan so that when we are presenting CMAs, we're speaking from personal experience and not from cell phone pictures of the crummy real estate agent took 180 days to sell the house for. That's what we need to be doing so we can speak to our expertise and to our knowledge. So that's my tips on presenting CMAs.
That's great. And it's funny because a lot of it's just confidence based, right?
Mm-hmm.
The consumer is going to feed off of whatever energy you give. And when your energy, obviously I have the most amazing positive energy in the world. I don't know anybody beats me. That's why I've gotten every listing I've gone on, except for one. The dog didn't like me. The only time in my life, one dog in my life didn't like me. And it was a $1.4 million house. And I didn't get the lesson because the dog didn't like me. But anyways, let's go to Karina. Hi, Karina.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Good. So, when we're presenting, so I love everything that Ross just said. He definitely hit it right on the money. Is that you really have to be careful and make sure that you're setting expectations up front and know your inventory. Really important. Also, you definitely want, for me, I like to make sure that I'm giving them ideas of what type of marketing I'm going to be running, how it runs, what to expect from the marketing, the things that we send back to them. So as you're presenting the CMA, you're also you're still selling yourself at the same time, but also that so many agents don't do that much marketing or any marketing at all. And I like to take that opportunity to say, hey, listen, I looked at this property personally, not theirs, one of the ones on the CMA, and I can tell you why. One of the reasons why it sat on the market for so long was because the agent, was clearly that they did not have a marketing plan around this house. So we don't want to sit on the market for 120 days. We want to sit on the market for way less. So here's what we're going to do. And you can kind of take why certain things are sitting. And there's some reasons why there's no reason why some houses sit, right? You can have two great houses side by side. One sells right away. The other one sits, had great photos. So, you don't really want to bash your competition, but you definitely want to still promote what you're going to be doing for them as you're going through the CMA. But I also really like to show up with Zillow, Realtor.com, estimates, and estimates of what they believe the house is worth, because they're always normally two typically different numbers. So if you sit with someone and they want that top dollar they just saw on Zillow, no matter what you're showing them on the comps, but if you can pull out a couple others or three or four other sites that have given estimates, it really shows that they're all over the market, all over the map. And the reason is that because nobody really has the CMA, the data that we have within our MLS, right? So I always tell them, go with the data where the realtors are putting the actual information in, not where it has some sort of, not, it's not even a bi-directional sync anymore, right? Or ever was. So really important to stress that what they're seeing online may just be a pie in the sky, and we want to make sure that they get the real number so they're not sitting on the market for 120 days because they decided they had to have that Zillow number. And the other thing I've discovered in Brevard County, and so every area is different, but we have the land of the engineers with all of our space program. And the engineers here will run around with spreadsheets that they've created their own comps based on Zillow. So Zillow can be a little bit of our arch nemesis over here, because if a house is way over what that estimate is, a lot of times I'll see that house will sit, whether it's my listing or somebody else's. So I do have to take that into consideration when we're listing the house and coming up with that number. It is not where I get my number, but I know I have to make sure that we're not so far over Zillow that we won't be seen by the engineers, because they're a big part of our purchasers.
Yeah, it's great. And it was a phenomenal launch last night. I got the invited by the port commissioner, who's a friend of mine, to stand on top of the roof of one of the garages at the port and watch the launch. And it's the
Oh,
first time
cool.
I've been able to watch the rocket come back down. I mean, I've seen it once from in a night launch, but literally watched it all the way till it hit the ground.
Yeah.
And it's, so when they say in our area it's not rocket science, it actually is.
Yes, it is.
Just saying. Maddie, let's go to Matt.
Oh, well, this is a great topic. Diane and I actually met with an agent last week that I've known for years. I've known this guy, gosh, I mean, 25 years. His name is Frank Bell. I don't think he's on the call today, but I did invite him. But we had a great conversation. So I know him from way back in the Craig Proctor days, so like 1999. And but I haven't seen him since then. So but what we had a great conversation about was the importance of, sellers always, what do sellers always want to ask you when you're on a listing appointment, right? What's my house worth? And they immediately want to judge you relative to the other agents that they've met with, based on the answer you give them. And we don't, so what we talked about, which I think that was so important, is not giving them a price, guiding them to the price. So sitting down with, you have to have all the comps, all the relevant comps, right? And you have to have pictures, so you can do it on your laptop or your iPad, or you can print out all the photos in color to show them. But it is a little bit time consuming, but you go through each one and you really break them down. The same things we do in our mind when we look at the comps, but it's just guiding the seller to do that. So, and they're going to end up coming up, if you show them the right comps, right? They're going to end up coming up with the right number, within, a tiny percentage, because you're not showing them comps that are, if their house is worth $1 million, you're not showing them comps that sold for $1.6 million, right? You're showing homes that sold for between 900 and maybe $1.05 million, right? And you're breaking down. And so instead of, and they will say things to you like, well, look, you're the expert. That's why I had you over here to tell me what my house is worth. Yeah, I understand that. I'm here to guide you. We're going to do this together, right? So that they come up with a number, because it's much more powerful to have them decide and of course, they're always going to have, in the beginning, they all have an inflated idea of what their home is worth until they start looking at actual homes that have sold around their home that are similar to theirs. And, I could probably take, a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old and do the exact same thing with them. Well, look at this one. This one's on a cul-de-sac. This one backs up to the busy street. What do you think's better, And so if you guide them to it, you're going to end up with a much better relationship with this seller, right? It's a shock if they think their house is worth $1.3 million or $1.4 million based on what they see online, or just based on what they think in their head their house is going to be worth. And you come in there and say it's worth $1.1 million, it's not a pleasant conversation, right? But if you let them look at the comps, and it does take a little bit more time, but it's much, much more powerful. And I really liked the line that he used is, I'm here to guide you, to help you this is your house, to help you guys set the price of your home. And I thought that was really, really good. And like I say, it does take a little bit more time. And I look back and I realized that I've fallen into the trap of saying, okay, what's your house worth? We should list it at 2.5. That's the number we should list it for. Right. Well, they were thinking 2.8. They don't like to hear that. So guiding them is a much, much better way to go. And so you really have to spend the time, and you have to pick the right comps, and just walk them through it. They're smart people. Like I say, they might be rocket engineers or, whatever. And they're not dumb. And so it's just a matter of guiding them. So I thought that was so awesome. This guy, Frank Bell, we talked about it was last Friday. So that's the most important thing in picking the right comps, and then knowing that other agents are going to go in there and tell them the house is worth more than it actually is. And that's what you're competing with. I always like to have the conversation about how agents like to buy a listing, right? The average agent sells 4 homes a year. Your house could be like 25% of their annual income. So they're desperate to get your listing. They know you're talking to multiple people. And so they're going to tell you what you want to hear, which is that your house is worth this much just to get the listing. And then 30 days from now, they're going to call you up and say, gosh, I don't know what I was thinking. The market's really different. No, we're not getting any showings, et cetera. And I always remind them, selling real estate is a sprint. It's not a marathon. So we don't want to be sitting here 30 days from now and having a conversation about why the house isn't selling, because now we got to drop it and we've lost all of our momentum. So that agent that's buying the listing by BSing you, and you think, boy, they really are excited about my house and they love it and they're trying to get me a top dollar, they've got none of your best interests at heart. They're just trying to steal the listing. So I think that's a really important conversation to have, because we all know that agents routinely overprice listings. And a lot of times sellers go with those agents because they think, oh, well, this agent seems so excited about my house and they really believe in it and they thought they could get me a top price. You know, that Matt guy came in here, he was just trying to steal it and sell it really fast. No, I'm doing you a favor. I'm on your team.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
It's probably, I mean, everything you said is awesome, but that's one of the most important things, and educating your customers that agents will come in there to, like, I love that term, by the way, buy the listing, because I've never heard that before. But that's exactly what they do, and they will be coming in 30 days later, say, oh, sorry, the market shifted or whatever. And I always say, here's the deal with pricing your home. The numbers are the numbers of the numbers. I have two choices. I can tell you what you want to hear, or I can lie to you, or I can tell you the truth. Which would you prefer? And by the way, when you ask them, and I've asked that many times over the years, then you shut up for a few seconds, and they're always going to say, I want you to be honest with me.
Yeah.
Right.
I use that line also where I
Yeah.
say, you didn't have me over here to lie to you, right?
Right.
You want me to tell you the truth.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's important.
It's funny how honesty actually works, right?
Yeah, it is.
What an interesting concept in real estate. Mr. Sunburn Man, Cam, go up, bud.
That's funny. Good morning, everyone. So going over CMAs, Matt, you're really spot on there. A lot of what I'm going to say is going to repeat kind of what you said there. One of my favorite closes that I've used for phone converting is I actually let you pick the price. Well, they can't be upset with that. One of the big objections, obviously, I get on the phone is, well, what do you think it should be priced at? If you look at this all day, what should it be priced at? You're telling me you're the expert. And then you obviously come back with that rebuttal. I let you pick the price, which, again, going with what Matt was just saying there, when you present them a CMA with data on it, I always work in ranges. So that is how I'm letting them pick the price, is that I'm giving them a 95 to 105% valuation, or, a range that, you can pick the price in between that, and it would still be, in my recommendation. What you guys were just talking about, though, there with the lying agent, or the agent that just wants to come in and overprice it, that's the first, or one of the first kind of statements I make when I sit down with them is, I appreciate this. We looked through the home, everything's going great. Okay, so do you guys want me to lie to you, or do you want me to tell you the truth? And you got to kind of say it that way. You got to kind of say, like, of course you want me to tell you the truth, dummies. But they'll go, yeah, we want you to tell the truth. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to show you exactly what we see. I think, as Matt was saying, I actually use an iPad so that I have it all out on an iPad and we can go through it with them, look at all the photos together. But what's really important is as you're going through those listings with them, you need to be asking them, is this home nicer than yours? What do you think about this home? How does this compare with your home? And you really have to break it down with them, just like what Matt was saying. I love that, guiding them. You are guiding them so that they come up to the same price that your CMA does, and they get to choose the price, or they get to pick the price. And every photo, when they look at the kitchen, what do you guys think of this? Is it nicer than your kitchen? Is it not as nice as your kitchen? Oh, it's nicer. Or it's not as, they'll be honest with you. They'll tell you, they're working with you. And as you go through the different, the different data points, I usually use about 8 different, different properties in my CMA. So there's not a ton that you're going through, right? I pick the properties I want to make sure we're looking at that are very comparable, and I want them to really go through them. Mitch, I know one of your secrets was to always show them the homes, right? You can actually go out and show those people the homes and go in there personally. That's an incredible idea. I've never done it. I want to, but typically going through and using the iPad or printing out the photos, whatever it may be, but showing it to them and then really going through it with them one by one is a great way that they can compare prices. Also, remember that the data points you need to be using currently pending and just recently sold. Do not be going after the actives, you guys. I try to keep the actives in my CMA to like 30% of the overall CMA, because that can give people an illusion that, well, our home's just as nice as theirs. Why can't we get $1 million too? Well, because all the solds are really at $1 million, million point, or, just over $1 million. You have to be using what's actually selling. And if they have comments or objections about that, the easy way to answer them is just simply, I want to put your home on the market and get it sold. That's our goal, right? And then obviously you let them, yeah, we want to sell it. Well, then we need to be using the numbers for the currently sold properties. My CMAs are just a simple spreadsheet, and they go based on assessed value. So you look up assessed value in your tax data and you compare that to the pending price, the sold price, and the active price. Obviously that gives you an average percentage. That percentage is always based on the assessed value, right? So it's typically 105% of the assessed value is going to be the list price, and then it'll sell somewhere in between. We do that, of course, for the solds as well. And then obviously we do average sold square foot price. And that's how we get our CMAs, you guys. It's not rocket science as much as you guys on the East Coast try to make it that way. But it's simple. You're just dividing the assessed value with the sold price and assessed value with the asking price of the, your data points. And you're getting a number. And then, like I said, we're doing 95 to 105% of that number that it comes up with. And that gives them a range that in our 15 years of over 30 years using that CMA, but the time we've been using that CMA, it gives a very accurate range. And usually they end up almost right in the middle of it. So, that's how we do our CMAs. We break it down with them. And I think really the biggest part of that is sitting down with them when you're doing your CMA, going through each part and really asking them if they think it's nicer or if they think it's, theirs is nicer. You have to be honest. And you guys, this is the best part. And we love this. This is why we do what we do. But you'll do all this. You'll go through it one by one by one by one. And they'll say, oh, that one's nicer. That one's nicer. And then at the very end, they'll go, my home should be priced more than all of those. And you go, oh my goodness. Okay. So sometimes you have to redo it with them. And that is part of reeling in clients that have been lied to, that they've been overpromised. But showing them the data and showing it to them and helping them come to the conclusion. That's the best way to go through CMAs, you guys. And that's, I think, that's the secret stuff. That's what I got to offer.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. And one thing to think about too, I always, when I go on any listing appointment, look at Zillow for their price, because I know 9 out of 10 people have gone into Zillow and that's the price of their home they think it is. Right. And I'll talk about that in a minute more after Craig goes. Go ahead, Craig.
Hey, I'm going to keep this short because I'm going to have to jump. I got to go run to an appointment, but on some that just came up. But you had a great line earlier, Mitch, about doing things. And if you want something you don't currently have, you have to do something you currently aren't doing. So remember that. And that's in your CMAs too. That's in everything we do. When I deal with my client, the first thing I ask them, are you meeting with other realtors? One, I want to know if I'm in competition. Two, as I ask him, I say, are you the kind of person that likes to get data and cut through it? Or are you the kind of person that likes to just skim through things? Because in that, if you're the one that wants to go through the data, I'm going to send it to you in advance so you can comb through what I'm sending. Are you okay with that? Because now I got them involved doing some homework. So when I show up there, the first thing I say to them, hey, by the way, did you have a chance to go through what I had sent you? Great. We're going to talk about price in a little bit. Let's go talk about the house. So then we start going around, and the thing I always come back to, I always say, what did you come up with? Or I always ask them before I go out, what range are you thinking on the house? They're like, well, that's what I'm calling you for. I said, come on. We can play a cat and mouse game. It's like going to the doctors and saying, what part of your body hurts? And you say, none, but I'm in pain. All right. If you ask the questions, you're in control. So the more questions you ask in advance, they're going to break down. And don't stop once, go 7 times. Okay, so why do you think that? So what happens if you don't get that? How did you come up with that? Who helped you with that? Where are you going to get that information? Okay, build that information, the who, what, where, when, hows, and all of a sudden they're going to break down and they're ultimately going to say, well, it's just what I want. Well, great. I love that. So if I don't get those numbers, what are you going to do? If we can't find it out, let's say we sold it to a buyer at that number. Great. What happens if it doesn't appraise? And then stop talking, because the next person that talks loses. Because if you explain to them, look, the bank's going to look at the past 3 comparable sales with the closest proximity and do adjustments through that. The typical adjustments are this for the add-ons and all that stuff. Yes, prettiness counts, but they're looking at the bones. And that's what I've learned through the years. Get to the bones, get to where it is. The prettier it's going to be, the faster it's going to sell. The uglier it is, the lower it's going to sell. You're always going to throw the low out. You're always going to throw the high out. So that's what I've done. I ask them if they want the information in advance. I go and sit there, and like Cam does, I break it down with them. And I tell them, look, we're partners. We work together. I don't get, if you don't sell the house, do I get paid? No. So we want to get, I want to get you the most dollars. I want future referrals from you. I'm not transactional. I'm future referrals with you. So I'd rather get it right now and build my business also. And all of a sudden they start clicking, and that's kind of where. And then I always say, what number are you going to pick an agent by the price, or are you picking the agent who has the most detailed and best marketing plan and experience? I ask that before I go out. So now I know what I'm doing. Ask the questions. So those are the things that I do. That easy.
Yeah,
Along
great.
with what everybody else does, breaking it down. But
Yeah, there's a lot of, there's a lot of great tips there. And I'm going to talk for just a couple of minutes on, and then I think what we'll do is I feel like very motivational today. Sometimes I feel like in a motivational mood. So I think we should, after I get my little spiel on this thing, I want to go around the clock here. I want you guys to give everybody, it's a tougher market than it's been, right, in a while. So I want everybody to like give everybody a little boost here on how something you would say would help them grow their business this year, and get out of their heads, because most of the reason the market's bad is their mentality is in the wrong place. So first thing, two, if you're making comments in the chat box, you have to say it to everybody, because nobody's seeing it if you're just doing it to the panels except for the six of us. So firstly, and by Craig's gone. So with CMAs, to me, first of all, I never give a price over the phone. Ever give a price over the phone. I mean, I cannot give a price over the phone. I don't know what the house looks like. So I'm going to do a range. So I'm going to tell them, I might say to them, well, it could be anywhere between 550 and 650. It just depends. Until I see your house and see the condition, I can't give you a number, and it'll be whatever that will be. I'm pretty much, what Matt said in a lot of ways. I don't pussyfoot around the price. The price is the price is the price. And again, if the house is unbelievably upgraded, it might be a little bit more, but not a lot more, because you've all heard the term, you've overbuilt for the neighborhood, right? We have a guy in our neighborhood who just built this. Our homes run about $650,000 to $700,000 in my street. And this guy just built this house. He bought the lot for 500 and put $1 million into the house. There's no way he's selling that house for 1.5 million. Right? It's just not going to happen. So I use a lot of the same stuff you guys said. I mean, I always talk about what happens if it doesn't phrase. And I say, here's the worst case scenario: is you get a house under contract for the price that you think your house is worth. 3 weeks in, you're all boxed up, ready to go. You might have even moved to a different location at that point. And then the deal falls through, and you're under contract with another house. And you just kind of put that, because we've all seen that, right? So we're just talking about experience. You're paying me for my experience. Now, if you're not experienced, you're paying me for me and my mentor's experience, or me and my team members' experience, who is helping you, or just wing it, because that's what I did my whole life. But still doing that. I'm just winging this crap here, and I never did a listing in my life. Kidding. But a lot of this comes down with confidence and enthusiasm, and really believing what you believe, and you're right. Like, I know when I do a CMA, if I think the house was 637, I am right. It's worth 637. And I'm not going to take, I'll go to 650 on that. I'll look at 5%. Generally, that's my over. I'll go over 5%, but anything other than that, I'm walking away. And I made that mistake. That's why I'm like that now, because over the years, I took a listing. And what happens if you take a listing? Here's the mentality of the consumer. So say that 637 house, they want 750. And I'll take it. And, the mentality for a lot of it, well, at least I get a sign out front. I want to tell you what happens with that, because this happened to me. This is why I know. So I did that. I did that with a customer when I first got my license. I took a listing for a house that was worth 2.25, and he wanted 3. So I listed it at 3. I got a buyer call, and I'm really, really good at converting sign calls. I'm really, really good at it. And we have to have that conversation one day, because that's a talent in itself, right? But I'm really good at it. So this guy says to me, what's the price? And I got my thing. I got him interested, told him it was 300 grand. And he started laughing. He goes, 300 grand. He goes, there's nothing in that house worth more than 210, 220 in that neighborhood. And the guy knew what he was talking about. I go, well, do you want to look at other houses? He goes, I would never use you as a realtor. He goes, you know how to price a house. Why would I use you? I'm going to overpay for something because you know how to price a house. That was my biggest aha moment I got. And luckily it was the first, like my second or third month in the business. So all that is like really, really huge. And it all comes down to the CMA. And someone asked in there, how do you, if they think their house is beautiful and all that stuff, well, you got to be honest. Look, and that's why I love, Kim, I know you show pictures. The reason why I like showing people in person, it's a different, let's say you go on the internet now with the quality of pictures, every house looks like it's amazing, right? The crappiest house in the world looks like it's worth $1 billion. When you go in person, you sit there, is this kitchen better than your kitchen? Yeah. This house is 400 square feet bigger than your house, right? Yeah. Are these bathrooms nicer than your bathrooms? Is this flooring nicer than your flooring, right? Their dog is much cuter than your dog. There's always something that you can go to. And I've always had great luck getting them down to reality, but it starts with me looking at Zillow first because I want to know what I'm up against. Like I love when I go and I see Zillow listings less than the value. Like in my neighborhood, because we're a waterfront community. I'm on the water, but houses literally a block away are not on the water, and there's a $300,000 difference in price, right? Because my lot's worth $300,000, and so when I see that and they don't know that, and I go, so what do you think the house is worth? First question I always ask when I sit down, what do you think the house is worth? I know the answer because it's based on what they looked at in Zillow. And they come in and say, well, that same house, oh, it's worth 550. I go, actually, it's worth 637. And let me show you why. And they're like, wow, it's a guaranteed listing. The challenge is when they think it's worth 750 and it's worth 637. Right. So that's pretty much, I mean, everybody else covered everything else on listings. But again, all of this stuff is just how you do it. It's all confidence. I went in, I remember my first listing appointment, I went in, I got no training, by the way, guys. I didn't have any mentors. I just had to wing this crap by myself. And it was kind of fun. I went in with, and I used to laugh before I got to things because that's how I deal with nerves. I laugh and I'd make jokes to myself. I'd look in the mirror, laugh. It's pretty easy to laugh at that, right? And, I go in, and I remember my first line was, I just want to know how I do my business. I never take any more than 3 active listings at a time because I want to make sure I can spend all my time on your listings. No, I didn't have any listings. It was easy. When I started doing 3 listings at a time, I said, I never take more than 5 active listings at a time. And when I got to 10, I'm like, I never take more than 10 active listings. It was great. Anyway, stupid stuff. All right, let's go around the hall. Down the room. We'll start with the beautiful Corrine. I think she's the smartest person in the group here. And so talk for a couple of minutes to everybody on the phone. Like, what can they do? What's one shift they can make this year that will change their life?
Okay, so it's all about mindset, first of all, right? So you got to, if you sleep in, get up a little earlier, start stretching and getting your mindset in. But I'm going to kind of take it a little bit differently, Mitch. I've been in sales my whole life. I've been up and down a lot of different times of good markets, bad markets, not even in real estate. I've been in real estate. I've been in software sales. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And the one thing that I've always told my teams, whether it was selling software on out, is that you have to think back to the Great Depression, right? I mean, this country was really stalled out during that time, but pencils were still being sold somewhere. The guy selling pencils was still selling his pencil somewhere. He had to get smart about it. So instead of going to John and Mary Smith, who could barely get bread on their table to feed their kids, he had to be smart, right? He had to go and get creative. So he started going to golf courses that needed pencils and banks and other places that had the money to buy those type of things. So if you're running into the area now where you're trying to go and find business, you have to get a little creative. I really love what Pete and some of the California guys have talked about in the past where, and I'm going to start doing this with my own listings, getting with a lender and getting them to tell you what the payment would be, if how much down and how much a month it would be to own this house. And so I'm actually in the process of getting that made right now for my listings. So I'm trying to get creative. You too need to get creative. If you're running into an area where you're getting no in the same neighborhood, move out of that neighborhood and go to another neighborhood. So you definitely, and then the other thing is start networking. If you're not networking in different areas, and if you have the money, go support a little league team. I've been doing that for more than a decade. I get a lot of sales every spring from the baseball communities or the crew team or the volleyball team. I sponsor a lot of sports. And then when you are a sponsor, you can show up on Saturday mornings. And what I do is I bring donuts for the parents and some little orange juices and milks. And guess what? The parents are eating their donuts and chatting me up. And I don't, my kids are like out of college, right? But I'm still sitting on those bleachers like I used to. And I'll even volunteer to go work the snack stand for someone if they can't get in there, because now they're calling me. And I'm now talking to another group of parents. So if you're not involved in something, go get your name on something. When they want my business name, I only give them my website name. So it's karinashomes.com on the back of all these little t-shirts or on the banners. I want to make sure that whatever they're going to be running around with, someone's going to pull their phone up and start calling me or go into my website. That will definitely change, you guys. And it is that time right now where the sports teams need sponsors. Go change some lives of some kids. It's important for them to be in a sport growing up so they learn how to work with others. And for you, it's important that you go on Saturdays. Don't just sponsor them and sleep in. Go sponsor them and go network and go find your clients. You will find several parents wanting to buy and sell homes right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. I've gone to my grandson's dad was in the military, just retired last year, so he's back home now. But for the last 6 years, I've been the father at all the baseball games, and I think we've sold about at least a half a dozen homes there.
Mm-hmm.
Just being in the games, being the practices. Russ, birthday boy, what's going on?
All right. One more tidbit left for the CMA, if I can throw that in before we get into some motivational stuff. But there's always going to be bumps in the road when you're going to be in a listing. I think it's cool to do it up front with the acronym of BUMP. So what could be something like that? It's going to be broker, utility, market, or price. And those are normally the four things that are going to be a huge struggle in your journey of selling a house. So one, we don't want to be the problem, right? And you're selling yourself there at your presentation, and so you're not going to be the problem. So broker, you can scratch that one off. Utility, like Matt suggested, is it backing up to a busy road, or is it on a cul-de-sac? Are you backing up to a shopping center or a park? How is it going to be seen in the buyer's eye for usefulness and for location and things like that? So utility. And then market, we all know we're in a challenging market. So why are you going to be moving on to P, pricing yourself out to what the number in your head is, when we know we're in a tougher market and we need to be a little more aggressive with our pricing? So bump, it's just something to remember as you guys move on. But you guys are already way ahead of the game because we're all with EXP. So if you find yourself struggling in different markets, if you find yourself not knowing what to do, open up your mind to everything that EXP has to offer. There should be no time wasted in a day if you are going to put yourself in a position to work. I mean, you could be doing express offers. I recommend if anybody hasn't done that training, do that training. What a great piece to have when you're going into a listing presentation. What a great piece to have when you meet somebody on the street or at the sporting event. They're like, oh, I haven't gotten one offer. Oh, well, I can get you 3 in 72 hours. Do that, live that. Renivos, why aren't you in the relocation program? There's so many opportunities within EXP. Go to your Okta, sign up for the training, get it done, and just be a master of all the tools that you have here. Half the battle's already done. It's available to you. Do it. Look at Pizza Luxury Package. Be a master of that. Master your listing agreement when it's slow. There should be no time spent twiddling your thumbs. The very least you could do is be calling agents, tell them what a great brokerage you're with, what a great opportunity it is, what a great phone call we have on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Why don't you join me for that? And we can hear about how we can all benefit our businesses. These are the things that I time block an hour out of my day to get out of the mundane sales activities, get a bird's eye from that 500,000 foot view up in the air, and see where the trajectory of my business is going to go. Where do I need to build? Who do I need to build that? What activities do I need to do to be better at this? this is what we need to do to be the best versions of ourselves and the best versions that we can offer to our clients. So when opportunity does arise in a slow market, boom, we're ready. We're not out of practice. We're not going to blow it. It is time to pounce, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do it better than anybody else. So you guys are there. I know you can all do it. I know I'm telling myself I can do it. We're in it together. So that's super exciting. The battle's already won, knowing that you have all this stuff behind you, and we're all behind you too.
Yep, perfect. That's awesome. Boy, Ross, you're not just a good-looking guy. You're actually smart. I love that.
Fooled you.
Yep. Yeah, I had to make it up just on being smart. Cam, what's your word of advice for everybody?
Word of advice. Well, first off, I didn't tell Ross happy birthday. So happy birthday, brother. That's awesome. 40's awesome.
Thanks,
I got one thing actually before we do that, the whole motivation thing, kind of like Ross. One of the things I didn't say, because I usually have our afternoons when we're doing our prospecting blocked off for our appointments and all of that, is if you are a newer agent, you can actually go and preview the other homes that are for sale around your listing. So you have a really good idea of what your home's going to be listed for. That's a great idea for some of our younger agents. I don't personally do that, but if you're just learning a market or it's a new area, it's something you can do. And then also explaining to your people when you go through the CMA with them, this is really important in our area. We just had a Wall Street Journal article come out saying that we are like the third most appreciated area across the country. And it was 6.5%. As it was what we're down from last year. So explaining to them when you go through their CMA that we are in a decreasing market as well. So we need to get ahead of this market. We can't price it at where the market is or what this is showing, because this was 30 days ago or 60 days ago. This is actually behind us. So those are two important things I wanted to say. For motivation, you have to start it off with your personal motivation. Really, guys, you got to get up in the morning, do some kind of morning activity. It's a 10-minute walk. Go for a run if you want. It doesn't have to be crazy. Do a morning activity, get yourself sweaty, go take a shower. It'll let you open your mind up. It'll allow you to think. And that's going to allow you, to do kind of like what Karina was saying there is be involved with your community. Like we're doing a neighborhood barbecue here in a few weeks. It allows you to connect. It allows you to have that motivation because you're not exhausted and tired, and it just will open up your life, you guys. I know Matt with the surfing, you got to do something that gets you to open up your mind and be open to opportunities because they present themselves all the time. And you can also create them when you are in the mindset to go after them. So for everyone out there that's struggling right now, drink more water. I know that's so silly, but you guys drink more water. Go outside for 5-10 minutes a day and go for a walk. Go if you walk's too easy, go for a run. Or if you don't have 10 minutes, because I know parents are busy. We're all really busy. Buy a jump rope. And jump rope for 3 minutes. It's incredible how it'll get your cardiovascular moving. It'll get your brain moving. And it'll give you kind of the personal motivation, at least I have, where it allows me to self-motivate myself. The second part of that is being here at this group's amazing. Obviously, we all got to come together on Thursday. But if your groups or your teams or your people that you're working with aren't doing outside calls or outside group meetings, or they're not pouring into you or working with you, reach out to us. I mean, I know Karina's doing it. We're doing it every Monday. But we have these meetings where you can talk about your challenges. You can talk about your problems. You can be held accountable. And we work with you. We're celebrating with you. We are excited for you. And I think that's really important in today's day and age, post-COVID, where, having that camaraderie and, kind of working as an office, even though we're worldwide now, obviously with the virtual cloud office, which is so cool, but having that, it helps you be personally motivated. It helps keep you grounded. And I think that's really big too. So look out for people, find people, go out in your local area, go outside a little bit, and then also get connected with your team here at EXP because it's incredible. So those are my big things.
Very good stuff. Maddie.
All right. Those are all that stuff is great. Somebody had a question in the chat that I wanted to just address, which is somebody said, well, what do you do when you have somebody that, wants to list too high and when you ask them, what if they don't get that price, which you're pretty sure they're never going to get, they say, well, I wouldn't sell. So you've got an unrealistic and an unmotivated seller. I will be very honest. I have taken those listings over the years, and I have almost always regretted it and gotten burned. So, that person will just, like you were saying, Mitch, that seller will just end up frustrating you. You'll bring them offers that they refuse to take. They were upfront with you when you took the listing. I had a listing just last year, 4.2 million, which I knew was too high, or maybe it was 4.3. I brought him a cash offer of $4 million. He would not take it. He now wants to list his house again this year. Now he wants 4.5. I'm not taking it. I've already put my time in. So, it's all about motivation. Okay. I just had another seller. He told me the number that he wanted. It was an off-market listing. I brought him exactly what he wanted. He wanted a week to think about it. He got back to me on Monday and said, we just decided we don't want to sell the house. Can you imagine? That was 3.8 million. So, there's wonderful to have listings that price, but my point is it comes down to motivation. So that's really, really important. One thing we didn't talk about, since we're on the theme of listing appointments and CMAs and so forth, excuse me, is we always do a pre-listing questionnaire, which is really, really important because, among other things, it asks,
don't die on us, buddy.
All right. I know. But the pre-listing questionnaire, among other things, asks what price they want to list it at, why they're selling, what their motivation is. It asks a lot of really important questions. So that's a really important thing to do over the phone before you go out there. I like to have somebody else in my office do it and just answer all the questions. That's really important. And then I think as far as motivation, we've all got to be doing something to generate business. I think I used to do a lot of TV advertising, which I really don't anymore, or not as much. And that generated a lot of leads. Before that, I used to do tons and tons of direct mail. Well, the point is you got to be doing something, no matter what your budget is. If your budget is, $100 a month, figure out what you can do to generate leads for $100 a month. And if your budget is zero, I guess do lots of open houses. But the bottom line, you got to do something. You can't just sit, because nothing, everything works and nothing doesn't. So I think people fall into a trap, especially when the market is slow and then they get kind of down and then they don't do anything, right? And then nothing happens, right? So the point is, we're in the lead generation business. You've got to do something to generate leads. And if you have no budget, I think the best thing you can do is go out and do open houses. You can also knock on doors. You know what? People are a lot friendlier when you knock on their door than when you call them on the phone. 100%. So everything works and nothing doesn't. So you got to do something.
That's great. Yeah. So, all right, I'll give you a few things. First of all, I'm gonna turn my background off for a second, and I'm gonna do a little exercise with everybody that I do when I speak in public. But you have to see my guitar to be able to do that. Yes. So yes, I live in a green screen, guys. It's a pretty good place to live. So this is my 50th year of playing guitar. Isn't that crazy? And 50 years, like I'm not even that old. How did I hit that? So I don't know who's a musician on here, but no, Matt's got music stuff. But when I first started playing guitar, I had to make a C chord. And there's a reason I'm telling you guys all this stuff, to show you how I can play guitar. And so my C chord, my first start, it really took this long. And then it would sound like this. And then after like 85 million times, it finally sounded like. And then I was like, all right, well, that's pretty cool, but I can't write one song with this. Pretty boring song, right? Well, there are a couple songs that are one chord songs. And then I had to learn another chord. So I had to learn a G chord. The G chord was like, I then back there and put my notes there. And then finally, after a while, and then I had to learn to switch chords. So that was even more challenging. And then eventually it was, right? I could stop playing. Why am I showing you that? This is the only industry where I've ever seen people never practice anything. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I coach agents every single day, right? Let me put my pretty background back on so it looks nice. I like my head shines on that. But my point is I didn't become a good guitar player, and I'm a pretty good guitar player overnight. It took me years to be really, really good, but it took me months to even play a few different chords. And I stuck with it. When I got into real estate, I said, what is my weakness going to be? I am really bad. I am really bad at I'm really bad at contracts. I knew I was going to be bad at that because I'm really ADD, right? And so I wrote, I'll tell you my path. I started my real estate career September 10th, 2001. The next day was 9/11. First night I met my office mates. And the next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I wrote 10 fake contracts each day because I knew that was going to be I was going to struggle with that. And then I did my first open house on Saturday and sold my first house that day, wrote my first contract. You know what was the easiest part of that open house? Was writing my contract. I knew how to write a contract. So it's practice, practice, practice. Matt said this, and we've all talked about this. You are in the lead generation business. And one thing we know for sure is 7 out of 100 of your contacts are going to buy or sell a home every year. That's been a stat for a long time. Now, if you really work in that database, it's actually up to 12, but I'm going to use 7. And I don't even care if it's 5, right? And I've got 2,000 contacts. So that's a lot of sales sitting in my thing, right? There's 140 sales sitting there. If you look at your contacts, you have plenty. But here's your mission this year. And I want you to think this really simple. Your only goal every single day, every day, is to add one person to your database. That's it. Just one person. There's 7 days a week. Is you got to add one person to your database. So how do you do that? What does that number look like, by the way? That's 365 people. What does that mean? You just added 21 sales opportunities per year on top of what you already have. So here's how I do it. It's a really, really simple process. Karina, will you role play with me?
Would love to.
All right, so me and Karina are in line. And by the way, every time I do a role play this, it never works out the way it happens in real life. So it's probably not going to again, but we'll try. So when I go, I love to grocery shop. It's like one of my favorite things to do, right? I love, like, little old ladies just flock to me. It's so funny. And I walk down whistling and smiling, like, oh, my grandfather used to whistle. And they're 100 years old. So their grandfather would be like 212 years old. But anyways, so then I picked the longest line. You can do this at a coffee shop. You can do this anywhere. So Karina's in line at the grocery store, and I stand up behind her. I go, hey, how's your day going today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm in the real estate business. It's crazy right now.
It is?
So here's the line that happens every single time. Really? How's the market? Every single time, almost 100%. How's the market? And then I say, well, it's a little crazy right now. So one of the things I do for my friends and family is I send them an email every month with the market update so they can keep track of the market. Would you like me to add you to that list? 80% say yes. Almost everybody, right? Very few, and the number is probably more than 80%. It's probably closer to 90%. Almost everybody says yes. So what did I just do? I now created a future customer. And I'm not going to get into working your spirit today. That's a whole nother thing. We'll do another class on that. But the point is, I practiced real estate. I sat there in front of the mirror and practiced my listing presentation before I went to my first listing presentation. I practiced my for sale by owner program. I have a phenomenal for sale by owner program that I teach around the country. It works 75% conversion rate. I practiced that. So when I walked up to my first FISBO, I was totally comfortable. What I find, unfortunately, with most people in our business is just winging it. And don't wing it. This is a business, right? And that's the other thing. It's a business, not a job. I posted a link in there. I'm doing a webinar on February 21st called Are You Building a Business or Are You Building a Crappy Job? It's a really powerful. I just did this in Sarasota on Tuesday. And it's really, really powerful because most of you out there, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, by the way, and someone's saying the link isn't working.
I
I'll
just
try to get
confirmed
this.
it, Mitch. It's not working.
Okay.
It just takes you to a Zoom page.
Yeah, it should be a Zoom registration page, right?
No, it says it's broken.
No. All right, I'll before I hang up, I'll get that. Hold on a second. But the point, oh yeah, it's broken. Yeah. The point is not that I didn't believe you, but it was broken. Let me delete that real quick. The point is become really, really good at your craft and understand that we're in the lead generation business. And for you to become really good at your craft, you got to practice. You got to be good. Give me 1 second to find that. Anybody want say anything else while I'm looking at this, Cam? You're always good for bringing up something else. Somebody say something else real quick while I'm getting this link real quick.
No, I think to say something else, it's just our market's really good, you guys. I know it's slowed down from the craziness, but if you're out there, you're active in it, you're working it, the market is in our favor to continue growing our businesses. But it's up to us, just like Mitch was saying, just like Matt was saying, just like Karina was saying, it's up to us to get out there, get in front of people, speak with people, and be of service. I mean, that's what we are. We are service people. And if you're always leading with service, you're talking with a lot of people, it's guaranteed that your business will do well. You just are at control of that. You are you are the captain of your own ship, and you have to decide, do we want to move with the changing winds, and do we want to move with the changing tides, or do we want to be upset with them and, be online and sit on Facebook? And it's up to us to change direction when the winds change. And the great news is, again, we have all of us here to help you. And, I'm here, Karina's here, Mitch, Matt, I know everyone is that's on our weekly call. We're at service to you guys, just like I'm telling you guys to be at service to potential sellers and buyers. We are here to help you guys. So reach out to us. We are here to assist, but keep steering the ship in the way that the winds are pushing you. Don't try to fight the winds.
All right, guys, we're right at the top of the hour here. I posted the link back in there. I'll leave this up for another minute so you guys can register there. And actually, Dre, leave this up for another minute so they can do that, because I don't have control of this webinar. And we'll see you guys all next week. Have a wicked awesome week. Peace, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
Have a great day.
Yeah.